Hello, my name is Jason Bollich, and I'm the Senior Director for Secondary Curriculum and Instruction right here in Galena Park, I.S.D. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about monitoring and adjusting instruction in the virtual classroom. Are you sometimes finding your students showing up in your virtual classroom, but they're demonstrating a lack of engagement? Maybe they're just not turning their cameras on. Well, let's talk a little bit about this. First, let's begin with why do we need students engaged? You know, as educators, we know this is fundamental in learning. This is where it all begins, with the students engaging in what they're doing each day. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Let's talk about 3 reasons to have student engagement in the classroom. 1, we really need to understand their thinking process. As educators, as teachers, you need to know what they're thinking along the way as they're going through a process, because if they mess up somewhere in that process, you need to be able to pinpoint that so that you can make those adjustments and corrections right away. 2, we need to monitor their progression. You know, in education and student learning, it's all about growth. We want to see that these students are starting at this point, and by the time they get to the end, we want to see that growth along the way. So it's very important we monitor that progression. And 3, well, you know what? We really just don't want them to be bored in the classroom. We want them coming to your classrooms excited. If they're bored each day, they're not going to show up to that classroom. Give them something to be excited about. Motivate them. Make them feel that, you know what? I can't miss this teacher's class. I want to be there. All right, so here's some takeaways that you can use starting tomorrow in your classrooms. You know, let's encourage them to have those cameras on, and let's build those relationships with them. You know, it's all about the tone, it's all about establishing trust, but you know what? Sometimes I think more importantly, it's really about having some fun along the way. And think about this too. You know, you want to get them to have those cameras on, maybe you need to show them how to do some backgrounds. Use those backgrounds to your advantages. And then you know what? We want to make that work so relevant, so important to them, that they feel that they say, hey, you know what? Yes, this makes sense to me. This is who I am. This is what I do. I'm getting it. I'm understanding it. It's relevant to me. And you do that by having those students do some writing, taking some notes, creating a Google slide deck, stuff that you can show on screen. You know what? They need to take that ownership in it. And when they own that stuff, let them show that to you. Do those presentations. Flash that stuff up on the screen for you. At that point, those cameras are going to have to come on because you need to see what they're doing. And maybe those cameras don't need to be on, you know, so long, but enough to where you see them, you can scan that work, give them that vote of approval, confidence along the way, encourage them to keep on doing that. Sometimes we got to start small like that, but I promise you, if you're making those relationships, you're building that up, you're establishing that trust, those cameras are going to stay on a lot longer each time. And you know, this doesn't always happen right away. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit of time. But here's the deal, you got to stay with it. You've got to make this become routine in the class. But you establish this and make them feel comfortable. When they're comfortable doing this and they realize, hey, this is how my class is when I'm with this teacher, this becomes that norm. Again, the longer that they trust you and you build on those relationships, the longer those cameras are going to stay on. So, in conclusion, there's a few things I just want to cover with you. 1, we know that student engagement is fundamental for learning, so we've got to establish that engagement. So, along the way, we want to make sure that we're seeing evidence of students thinking. Again, that goes back to those writing and presentations. You've got to see that stuff. We've got to know that they're progressing. We've got to understand their thinking. And you've got to give them opportunities to do this with those presentations and creating, writing, doing all kinds of things. That encourages that higher level thinking as well. And in the end, when you're doing all of these things, establishing that trust and all that, you just keep on building on those positive relationships. I promise you, it's all going to come together. Those students are going to respond. They're going to love those exciting assignments you're giving them. They're going to want to respond to you, and everything is going to work out. So again, I want to say thank you. My name is Jason Bollich, again, Senior Director for Secondary Curriculum and Instruction here in Galena Park, I.S.D. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. There's my number, 832-386-1057. Email me anytime you like at jbollich@galenaparkisd.com. We want to make sure that we're taking care of you and getting you everything that you need.